Test, test, test. Okay. Yeah, I think that's working. Okay. So today I'm going to look at the dungeons, but before I do that, I wanted to add a page to the tutorial to explain what food is, because I think that's not clear. So so this is the tutorial code. It loads a location in the world, and then it displays a text. The food should explanation should go somewhere here, where I talk about where the tutorial talks about collecting items. But that's of course in a hut, this location. But I would want, wait, actually, so food and deer are both procedurally placed, so I can't easily show it here. So I might need to just add a text describing them. So let's just add an explanation here, which is, I mean, it's not great, but it's better than nothing. For food, look for withered remains, pick up an item. Well, maybe let's put it here. And the gather food. Gather berries. From what? Find food. By picking berries from shrubs. I can't say bushes because that will be that'll be confusing. Find food by pick berries and deer for food. to avoid starving. Starving by picking berries and hunting deer for meat. I think it should have the word food in there. And starving by eating food, and then you can pick shrubs or berries and hunt deer for meat. I mean, this is pretty obvious. Picking shrubs for berries and hunting deer for meat. That might be enough. What was it? 20. Okay, here it is. Prevent starving by picking shrubs for berries and hunting deer for meat. I think that works. But picking berries from shrubs. Yeah, I think that's good enough. Okay. So underground. There are a couple of problems I need to solve. First one is that I don't have enough objects to decorate the underground. I would want some kind of a plant, but something green. But I mean, maybe moss. That could work, but that's more of a ground texture. And if I think about the temples, so this is a temple. I don't have caves, which is a bit sad, and I should add some. But there's same problem there. But I could add a grassy ground there. Let's just test this. What happens if I put some green in here? Doesn't really make sense. Dirt, on the other hand, works fine. Maybe it makes sense with the dirt. This gets too busy. But what I wanted to test generally, so that's a problem I have to solve before I overhaul all of these. Else I'll have to do it again, which would be bad. And but what I wanted to test, and I don't think it'll work, but if I treat this the same way as the overworld, in that I add elevation. And then, okay, this is visible, so that's great. I think the visibility algorithm, which makes the room behind this door invisible, I think that doesn't... I think it reveals everything of higher elevation. which would mean if I lower this, that still shows. I mean, there's artifacts that aren't that pretty. This is not a problem. But the inverse, if I raise this, okay, still works. So the visibility thing is kind of intelligent. And but yeah, that's kind of what I want, is having different levels that break away from the flat interiors. And if I look at the overworld, well, the thing is, the overworld is unbounded, basically. The interior is not, but else it's not much of a difference. Oops. Yeah, it's a bit crowded. So the thing is, the elevation changes on the overworld are always on a long ledge, or almost always. But they would have to be on corridors like this. But that should probably could just work. Let me see. If I move this down, and put a staircase here. Not a staircase, but steps. I get a rendering problem here, but maybe if I move this up. Okay. Still have some grass here. And I forgot. I forgot that steps are lowered by one tile. So yeah, this makes the dungeons more interesting. But it's also kind of a gimmick. But that may be fine. Do I save this? Let me create a copy. Oh, this is now a different patch. Okay. It's no patch at all. But that's interesting. So, so this dungeon has an entrance and an exit, so it can be part of the path. And so it also has a patch assigned. But if I change elevations, of course, that changes the patch. Well, I have to learn how to do these properly. But if let me look at another one. If I just change the elevations, I could bring all this down. Which would make it more interesting. So I could just do that, which is relatively easy, and then improve the dungeon from there. But I feel there's still something missing for it to be really good. Something environmental. Maybe adding okay, that's the wrong color. Maybe just adding elevation around it. We'll do that. Something like that, maybe. And yeah, let's if I remove all the walls, outside walls, maybe that will make it better. Yeah, I think that's much better. Still have this wall. So yeah, that's a bit of a problem. Because if I don't have decoy walls, then how do I hide the secrets? But maybe like this. Have some of them. That would make these secrets really easily recognizable. Let's decorate this a bit better. So yeah, this is I only have the rocks and the boulders and the roots really, and these bowls. I mean, I have enough, but it's all a bit samey. Maybe that's okay. I'm not sure. Okay, that doesn't work. Okay, so the order should be change the layout, reposition the objects, no, actually, change the layout and then add elevation changes, raise outside of dungeon, raise the outside of the dungeon, and then reposition. Reposition the objects. Yeah, but this is much, much better. Let me try to get through it. Okay, so close quarter combat is a bit lame. So I have to position the boulders better. And I'm not sure if this should be a loop. I mean, it's small enough that you can backtrack, but... Maybe I'll turn this into a what's this called? Barrier. Well, same result, but I like that a bit better. Now if I tear down this wall, so this could be one kind of dungeon where you enter high, you go down, and you come back up. Maybe on this side. Yeah, so this increases the footprint of all the dungeons. Of course, but should be enough space. Come on. So yeah, I think that's much better. But yeah, still not perfect. I could put another room in here. kind of. But yeah, this is pretty time consuming. So let me check how long that will take. So there are about 60 dungeons. Let's say I need 15 minutes if I go fast. So that's 15 hours. And margin of error, that's 20 hours. So that's, yeah, 2 days. It's basically what the overworld was. So that should be doable. Still in the range of the possible. Yeah, I forgot about the table and the bed. So they can, of course, also play a role here. It looks pretty cluttered. And I still have, well, if I have the rooms. If I have rooms, then it's not that obvious where the secrets are. Or is it? Well, it's still pretty obvious. Let me see. Oh yeah, I can even see it. That's funny. So yeah, that's not a great secret. And it also, yeah, has a rendering bug. Maybe if I move it one over. I also want to... well, you can still see it. Lost my train of thought. What was it? I want to... yeah, I want to add every second or maybe third dungeon into the path. So some of these have to be linear, but not all. And how does this skeleton see me coming through the door here? That's crazy. Okay, but this is... yeah, that's not even comparable to the old dungeon. This is much better. But that secret is still bad. Where do I put it? Maybe in here? That's also pretty obvious. But you may overlook it. Oops. And then I can lower this wall as well. Pressing the wrong buttons. Let's put a root. Yeah. Okay. Oh no. I lost the dungeon. Where is it? Here it is. Well, no, it didn't look. Great. Dude. There may be a tad too many skeletons in here, but I mean, now it's fine. Yeah, that's pretty obvious if you know, but it's not obvious if you don't know, of course. Is this okay? I think it is. That means I have to put all these secrets next to rooms. No? Hello? Great. Should be steps. And maybe I'll... Yeah, let's move this down. Move this up. Or maybe here. Yeah, I think that's better. Yeah, you could spend hours on just one dungeon. And that's kind of the problem. But yeah. Yeah, so another question is, should I decorate these outside patches? Maybe. I mean, it doesn't really make sense from a realism standpoint, but who cares really? Yeah, I don't like this formation. That's just what the edge algorithm does. Let's see. Yeah, that's better. Wait, is this too up? I don't want it to get too cluttered and hard to read. Okay, that's not how I expected this to look. Yeah, actually, let's use the bridges. I'm thinking about using them everywhere. If there's something stopping me from doing that, I don't think so. I mean, they could get boring, but I think this is much better. And here as well, maybe. And here as well. Okay, that's bad. I need one more stone tile, so that's good. Move this here. And let's see. Yeah, that's better. Let's bring back the skeleton. Maybe remove that one. And move the stone over here. Okay, what was that water doing there? Wrong tiles. Okay, this is pretty cool. I could add another bridge here, which would make this much cooler. Okay, now I have the problem here. But let's raise this, lower this. Okay, that's a cascading effect. But that works. Okay. I think this is the coolest dungeon I've done. By far. I really like the bridges. Let's make this one a bit better. So I'm spending more time on this dungeon because I'm figuring out what's possible before I go ahead with all the others. Okay, let's move this over here. And maybe I'll put back the urn I've removed, like this. So that's pretty cool. So this is still linear. You can go left or right. So there's no directionality, which is needed if I want to add puzzles. But yeah, I can bring that when I need to. Right, I think that's pretty cool. I mean, it's still really short, but unbelievable. And no potion. That was an accident. Okay, no. That was close. Yeah, I need to add some boulders here that are... what's it? What's it called? That are placed advantageously. Maybe here. Maybe here. And I mean, this is pretty cramped. Yesterday, while making the update, I had one really bad bug that basically cut off too many of the boundaries of the patches, and then you were stuck on the path with no way forward. I fixed that. I've no idea how long that was in the game, but it obviously didn't affect all the runs, only some of them. And I think it very rarely happened, but I fixed that. And the other thing was I was placing boulders, and I created a situation where you couldn't pass. There were 3 boulders, you could move them, but any configuration still blocked the way. So I had the very quick idea to make the boulders destroy. So if I take a boulder and I move it a couple of times, then it's gone. So you can wiggle your way out of my failings to create a good path, but I don't think there are many places where you could get locked in. Maybe a handful at most. And of course there could still be situations where even that doesn't help you, but those should be exceedingly rare. If at all. Because, I mean, I have a path testing suite, basically. And I run that, of course, before every release and fix all the errors I find. And there are... Wait, what else? Yeah, and I have a bot that I let loose on the game before every release and just record a couple of hours of the bot playing the game on high speed. So there shouldn't be that many places where you could get stuck. But yeah, I added that. The boulders destroying themselves, and tables and beds as well. Of course, that's non-obvious, and but if you're really stuck and unsuspecting, may well be the case that you move the boulders often enough so that they just disintegrate. Okay, I mean, this is pretty cool. It grew quite considerably in size. And it's not a long dungeon by any means. It's like a minute at most. But imagine having this one look the same as this one. And then I can actually just connect them. I can just hook them up if I'm... Well, that's actually... Wow, that's actually a good idea. Because I wanted to add... Well, it's not that easy, but... I mean, it's easy to hook them up, but the idea was that the path leads through the underground. And well, what would be awesome being having a network of these dungeons, and then I could actually just let the path continue underground and go back up when it wants to. But as you can see, that would be an insane amount of work, filling in all these blanks here together with what's there. And even this level of detail is very hard to achieve for a single dungeon. For if I don't fill up all the blank spaces. But I have, if you look one level below, I kind of have that. It's just not, all these dungeons are, I created them by hand in, I think, a week full of work, which was absolutely horrible. And somewhere along the path, I just picked some of them and put them in the game. And I stripped them all so I can tell them apart from what's actually in the game, like this one. But it would be much easier to connect all these. And yeah, that might actually be the way to go. I'm wondering, is the light different? Between the deep dungeons and the normal dungeons, but I don't think so. No. Because then I'm not sure why there are all these dungeons on layer 1. So layer 2 is the overworld, layer 1 is interiors actually. But here there's a dungeon. But all the interiors are here. Like these, for example. And I'm not sure why the dungeons are here. I could just plant them below, which would make sense, because they shouldn't overlap. Dungeons shouldn't overlap with the dungeons below. Yeah. Basically don't. Let me test that a couple more times. Well, this is cutting it close. But still possible. Well, this one overlaps a bit. But I could just combine them. So the idea would be to move all the dungeons that are here with the interiors down a level, so I can combine them with the larger dungeons. And the thing is, that would be pretty cool, because I could just continue that with the new region, which has also all the dungeons filled in, kind of. But it also has these dungeons. It's weird. It's not sure why. I have so many dungeons in layer 1. There must have been a reason. It might have been a stupid reason, like splitting smaller and larger dungeons. But actually, if they are all weighted equally, then I can create a network underground. And that would be pretty awesome. Of course, that makes the path very unpredictable for me. Because I can't be sure that the player is overground or underground at any point along the path. But that should not be a problem. Yeah, but this is great progress. With this kind of dungeon. Yeah. So this week will be me doing overhauling all the dungeons, and yeah, I think I need to do a update video for a YouTube video for the update I released yesterday. I think I'll do that today as well. If I have the time. And yeah, I've also been thinking about alchemy. But alchemy and magic. But I haven't found a good solution for what would magic or alchemy do. How would it enhance the game? How would it how would it expand the ways you can play the game? How would it change how you play the game? These are all questions that I haven't answered yet. I've gone through 3 or 4 iterations, or what's the word? 3 or 4 can't think of it. I've gone through 3 or 4 variants, complete variants of the alchemy, and nothing really clicked. But there's one big problem in the game that I need to solve. Well, there are several big problems, but one of the biggest is that you don't have that many interaction points with the world when it comes to progression. You have the gear, but you don't have. I really want something in the game where you can just collect along the way, and then cash in at regular points. But this kind of ties into the high score. So I looked at Rogue, and so in Rogue the high score is mostly the gold you find, and that would be awesome to have in the game, because that's just something you can collect without thinking about anything. So just picking up gold would be awesome, but then not having a way to spend the gold is also kind of weird, but in Rogue that's just how it is. So gold maybe fills in that role, collecting stuff. So then the question is, do I need ingredients? And the most or the best way, I think, would be for ingredients to drop from monsters, because monsters don't drop anything right now. They could drop ingredients, and maybe together with some plants that you can pick. But then the question becomes, of course, what do you do with the ingredients? And there's There's the obvious thing that's making potions, but that's pretty lame. Another thing would be enchantments. That's also pretty lame. What would be pretty cool is transmutations. So that's kind of what an enchantment is, but enchantments always give these modifiers. Transmutations would be changing one object into another. So if you, let's say you have some kind of a monster part or claw or something, or cobalt ears, something like that, and you create a some sort of an oil, and you can apply that oil to any object. There would be different types of oil, maybe a cursed oil and a blessed oil or something like that. A positive one and a negative one, or a good one and an evil one. So you could apply this to your sword, and it would just create a different item. Still a sword, probably. There may be some chaos in there. But it should be pretty deterministic. So you could just gather the ingredients and then upgrade your gear, basically. And even apply this oil to potions, creating new different potions. And basically improving your gear, but in two directions. In the buff direction and in the offensive debuff direction. So that would be that would create two paths that you can choose one of, or maybe a combination of the two. And the problem is how do you apply the first of all, how do you create the oil? Second of all, how do you apply the oil? And that's just not clear to me. Of course, there are several approaches you could go. First one is you have recipes that you find, and then use the recipe to create something. Second would be you have workstations in the world where you can go to, and the workstations have all the recipes and you just trade in your ingredients. Third one would be a workstation, but it's an NPC that reoccurs along the path. And there was another one. Yeah, the fourth one would be the, oh god, what's it called? Heretic cube from Diablo, where you just put stuff in a box and press a button. That's what Minecraft copied, basically. But that's weird. I don't like that. So yeah, I'm thinking about alchemy, but It's still not quite clear. So before it lands in the game, I have to know that it will solve many problems the game has right now. Otherwise, I'll just be carrying around a non-functioning system, having to maintain it or update it, so that's not going to happen. So it should be super solid. And yeah, maybe I just don't add alchemy, but something that solves the same problems. Yeah, but I think gold would be cool just to have it, just to collect it, and the high score list. Yeah, I'll have to add the high scores. I think that would be a great addition. But I'm not sure where. But yeah, I'll add that this week as well. Alright, this was a short stream. I'm yeah. I'm working on the I'll work on the dungeons all day, all night. And hopefully I can make a smaller update on Wednesday. Wait, today's Monday, no? Yeah, maybe on Thursday, maybe on Wednesday. Hopefully on Wednesday. With half of the new dungeons, or maybe all if I, through some miracle, just gotten through all of them, but I don't think so. But part of the dungeons, and the high score, and a couple of bug fixes. But yeah. Alright guys, I'll be back maybe tomorrow. I'll look into it. If not, then on Wednesday. Alright guys. Thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, and I'll see you tomorrow or the day after that. Alright. Bye guys.